Hey there, I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. Often random, but always relevant, always real, and practically nothing is off limits. This podcast is for you. Are you ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome back to the program, guys, and thank you so much for being here. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and smash all those subscribe buttons. Joining me today is a local visionary in the cultural scene in Jacksonville, Florida, Shawana Brooks. Shawana, it's been a minute. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to talk to you right now, Tracy. This is amazing. The setup has really changed since the last time we did this, so it's incredible.
Oh, I know. Well, the pandemic pretty much shut down the studio. When we started over there, it was right before the pandemic, and of course, we continued through the second season during the pandemic, but a lot of guests were uncomfortable coming into that small space, with or without masks, so it pretty much shut it down. And then I just kept doing it this way. I got some podcasting gear and just decided to keep it going. And so right now, like I was saying earlier, I'm finishing up on season 5 now, and we'll probably start airing season 6 in the fall. But right now, as it stands, we have enough episodes that will continue to air all the way through at least the end of July, beginning of August.
Well, all right. That's incredible.
It's a lot of fun. And I understand that a lot of the guests, like yourself, that come on the show, you got important things to do, and you got busy schedules. So I understand completely, and things happen, and you got yourself home, and you got sat down and comfortable, and here we go.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into it. I'm excited.
First of all, I want to ask you about moving the margins program. How did you get that started? What was your passion that made you start that at the Corner Gallery, of course? And secondly, part 2, how do you select your artists that exhibit there?
Ooh, all great questions. Well, let me start with your first one. How did moving the margins kind of come to be? I feel like it evolutionized out of like me and my husband starting kind of a gallery in our backyard basically during COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got a chance to talk to Mark Walker, who is the director there of the Jesse. They were working on some of their outside public art, and they wanted to bring something inside. So they gave me a tremendous opportunity to just pitch to them whatever I wanted to do. And I was like, well, what do I want to do? I'm doing all these artists cultural things in the community now. I'm working on public art out there. I'm showcasing work at my house. What do I want to do outside this space? And I was like, I really wanted to work and hone in an artist residency. I really felt like Jacksonville didn't have an artist residency here. Or if they did, there were still challenges. They weren't like significant residencies. And
Mm-hmm.
having the Jesse behind me to support me with finances and resources just gave me a whole new motivation. So we started a residency program here, in Jacksonville, first for artists of color. And now we're in our 4th year going. We're at the beginning of our 4th year. And so I thought, like, how can I include more voices? So we're moving the margins. I thought it was the perfect time to add in marginalized voices, which gives us a chance to work with women and other disabled people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, again, like how I choose my artists. I choose my artists off of the topics that I think are important. So not only is this a physical residency, like we don't have a space for the artists to come and create, they create at their home, but we want to create conversation. Conversation is what we
Mm-hmm.
kind of is born out of our residency. So we want to have these topics. And homelessness right now is such a huge topic in all the different ways. Transitional homelessness and
Right.
affordable housing. It's scary out here. Even for
Right.
somebody like myself. So I understand that issue. And I wanted, like, let's talk about that. Let's have some work about that gets us dialoguing. And I guess that was like the most simplified, version of how I got the
Hmm.
residency started and how we're selecting artists right now.
And you brought up some very, very important topics: the homeless issue and affordable housing. Affordable housing has been a really big issue, and in fact, I had City Councilman Jimmy Peluso on. We talked about it. Joshua Hicks is director of the affordable housing, division there.
Yeah.
How do you see what role? Uh, and there are many, and there's probably many answers to this too. But what role do you think art plays in civic engagement and social change?
Oh, that's such a good question. I feel like the role that art plays in that realm is it gets people to understand it better. Sometimes, like, you have a problem that's so big, and you have all these other people discussing it, but once you kind of put art in that center and let
Hmm.
them reflect about the art, they're able to engage in a much more honest and, I think, truth telling portion. So art plays a huge role in civic engagement. Basically, that's another reason why I wanted to do the residency. I was like, I want to get people talking about these big issues. How do we
Hmm.
have discourse? And how do we have, I think, like, discourse in this country has kind of fallen by the wayside. People want you to agree one way or another. Like, I have many different ideas about things, but you feel like if you say them, you're going to get canceled, or people aren't going to want to be
Hmm.
supporting things about. So it gets very, like, trepidatious. And so I think art kind of like cleanses our palate and gets us talking about the difficult dialogues that we must face. As a matter of fact, that's our tagline for Moving the Margins.
Absolutely, it does. It really does get people to talking. And you know that you mentioned, that being such an important part, getting people, to realize different things, different cultures, and realize the, like you say, cleanse your palate. Uh, you also, I had spoken at length with Hope McMath over at Yellow House about
Mm.
basically the same topic, activism and art. Where's the intersection? And you had a collaborative effort, I believe, over there at Yellow House, Magic, Mirth, and Mortality.
Yes, Magic, Mirth, and Mortality. That's my baby. That's the art exhibit that I created
Right.
because Black maternal death is such a big issue in this country, and
Hmm.
sometimes we can't see things if we just give people statistics or we just tell them information. So, like, I really wanted to almost create like a picture book. I was like, how do we marry statistics with these artistic pieces? And luckily, me and Hope McMath, I think, like, we're great collaborators together. We support one another in our
Hmm.
respective galleries, and what she's done over there is incredible. And art and activism, we take on like the role of social justice
Hmm.
interpreters, so we can kind of give that back out into the community. And Magic, Mirth, and Mortality is doing real good right now. It's traveling. It's in, I think, the city of Boca Raton. It's actually about to end. It's been there for like 9 months on
Wow.
view at this museum called Young at Art. That's a museum that's housed in the mall. So again, another great way for accessibility. Everybody's trying to be accessible. Everybody had to kind of like, kind of stock on what they were doing when COVID kind of approached. And this is an amazing, museum. Even for it's for children, they wanted to bring such a big topic. But I think that's who you have to bring it to, because
Hmm.
you're talking about these issues, and children aren't like just dumb. Like, they don't want to be disincluded. How can we include them? How can we engage them and learn
Hmm.
from them? So it really, did my heart well to have this issue of Black maternal, motherhood go out into this community and share my stories and share these important statistics and statistics of even like their community, and how can we envelop all that and show pictures and images around it. And so
Hmm.
far it's taking off. I'm like, where is it going to go to next? I love the idea of it traveling, and then also sometimes me getting a chance to travel with it is exciting too.
And that was actually, I was going to talk about that, but before I do, your traveling exhibits. Before you mentioned, the mortality rate of Black motherhood and that kind of thing, and we'll move on to another talk about that too. But I did an episode a couple years ago, and have reposted it several times, and it has to do with drowning amongst children. in Florida, especially in Florida, because we're just surrounded by water. It's everywhere, and
Right.
practically every neighborhood has got a pool in their backyard. But
Yes.
and but there's black children are dying at a rate 3 times higher than their white counterparts in drowning,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
part and parcel of basically the old Jim Crow days when black families were not allowed in public swimming pools. They weren't
Mhm.
allowed at public beaches. And they weren't given the opportunity to have swimming lessons. And so it became a generational issue where
Yes.
parents that did not know how to swim were unable to teach their children to swim. And so that was a big issue with the Deegan administration when she came on board, was to get these public pools opened.
Yeah.
And try to get people. Angie Nixon is involved in getting uh, children of color swimming lessons. So that's a
Mhm.
very important thing. I'm just throwing it out there. I know it's not part of art and activism, but it is part of activism. In
Yes.
fact,
I mean, again, all these
got to be
issues.
done. Got to be done.
Right. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people even know this, that, but like I think Jacksonville specifically and Florida in particular gets a F for premature births. So again,
Mm.
like I had my son, at 27 weeks, which was very early. He was a micro preemie. He only weighed like 1 pound and 10
Whoa.
ounces. And to see him now thriving as like a 5-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
growing up so well, like no like specific issues. Like there are a few things that we still have to worry about with him being a premature baby, but still, I mean, it's incredible what they can now do with technology, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see these little babies, and they were supposed to be inside you growing, but now they're outside of you, and they still can keep them alive. It's incredible.
Technology is something else. I actually
Yeah.
worked some in the NICU at Baptist when I was nursing. I was an ICU
Oh,
nurse for 22 years, and some of the technology that they have, they're able to, like you say, revive these small babies. These, like you say, micro preemies. It's amazing.
yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah. We thank UF Health so much. They have been such a godsend to us. They have, supported my exhibition and my work, and they have
Hmm.
also been there to like talk about, how Roosevelt was born and how he came to life and what I learned while I was at the hospital. They have been very supportive. In fact, I think they have a video coming out, hopefully pretty soon, that will be talking about that. That is such a passion project of Anne Marie Knight, an administrator there at UF Health. It's like it's her baby, and she has
Hmm.
born it, and she has really tried to take and talk to women in the community and talk about de-stressing, because even since having my baby, I've had health issues. I've unfortunately had, now I can't even remember, but I think 4 strokes, mini
Hmm.
strokes, like little small
TI
ischemic strokes.
TIA the
Yes, yes,
TIAs.
yes.
Hmm.
Exactly. But I've been very lucky. Like I look at other people, they've had strokes and they have been very debilitatory. They have
Yep.
had to, learn how to walk again, learn
Yep.
how to talk. Luckily, at every stroke that I had, I was like up the next day and trying to work, being hard headed. Like, they're like, rest, take your time, do stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I don't have time to rest. But, my lifestyle doesn't leave, much time for rest. But I'm so passionate about all these different topics. And I think art gives me a way to be able to bend my motive into those things. Like I want to talk about housing. I want to talk about
Hmm.
environmental injustice. I want to talk about racism. I want to talk about healthcare for Black. So art gives me a chance to do all those things.
Yeah. And a lot of people that are involved in art as deeply as you are will tell you the same thing. Gets
Yeah.
it gets their juices flowing. I mean, it really does something
Yes.
to you.
Yes. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely, absolutely, and people benefit from it. The people
Yes.
that see what you do and enjoy it, and I can tell you, there's more than a few people in North Florida that enjoy what you do.
Mhm. Agreed.
Yep. Look, let's touch on this subject. You were talking about being a black woman and so forth, and the magic mirth and mortality subject and all this. Well, how have your personal experiences, as a black woman, influenced your approach to work and leadership and art and
It's very precarious. As a woman, and as a woman of color,
mm-hmm,
you have to move and navigate, how you're going to present yourself to the world. And I think, like, I've been very influenced, by other people and how they've shared their experiences. I've learned so much from the community that we live in and how I can be a leader and how I can be representative. So, I just think, like, I have to be vocal. You have to talk about these things.
mm-hmm,
You can't just leave them behind. You have to share your experiences with other people, because sometimes people aren't just some people are racist. But I think most racist
mm-hmm,
incidents happen at a point of ignorance. And if you're
sure,
not sharing, if you're not talking, if you're not engaging with other people to share your who you are and your story, that is a great disservice. It
mm-hmm,
makes us stronger to know more about each other and to know more
mm-hmm,
about how we move and where we come from. So it empowers me. It gives me great empowerment to I have to come out here and I'm like, okay, I'm the only black person in this room. I have to be representative of black people. And sometimes you don't want to do that, but what choice do you have? So I just,
yeah,
pick up myself and just hopefully I'm most authentically as I can be out in this community.
mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. You do have to speak up. Rodney Hurst told me when he was on the program, if you're not telling the story, it's not getting told.
Exactly, exactly. I love Rodney Hurst. He is a great, like, he
Yeah.
wouldn't. I don't think he would necessarily say he's my mentor, but I feel like he's my mentor in many ways. I've talked to him. I've shared stories with him. He's
Hmm.
incredible, and to think
Oh
about
yeah.
his life and where he's come from and the things that he's had to fight and fight for, I'm like,
Sure.
how can I not fight it? It's chump change now. How can we not fight? We're still being, basically some of the same issues that were happening then are still the same issues that are happening now. And to me, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem.
Absolutely. And that leads me to, when we were talking before about the Duval County public school system and where activism could definitely play a role in fighting against that. And it's not only DCPS, but the whole state of Florida is
Yeah.
under attack by the GOP. They're all for the charter school system, and now they got some fella coming in. Is one of the There's two finalists to head up the DCPS, and the one of them is all for charters. So I mean, they're bringing
Wow. I
and
think that's incredible.
oh well, it's crazy. Uh, and they even had what was it? One of the board members is she was and this is a fact, she was found to be one of the supporters and members of Moms for Liberty. And you know what they're all about?
Oh, wow.
They're cray cray.
Yeah. They are cray cray. And like, I'm all for activism. I'm all for giving everybody a place to speak, but sometimes some of this rhetoric is so harmful, and people and the
It
children are
is.
paying the price. And you're
Yep.
saying, like before, like, it's happening all across Florida. I'm like, how do we get ourselves in this position? How do we get ourselves out? They're talking about all these school closures. I was like, what? How did this even become an issue? Why are we trying to close schools and then trying to open more charters? And so, like, now I'm being affected. My child's school is on the chopping block for being closed. And I feel like most of the schools in Riverside, in this area. So, like, where are all these kids gonna go that are displaced? I live right across the street from a private school, but I can't afford a private school. So,
No.
I can't send my child over there. And plus, I don't necessarily believe in, like, their religious doctrine. So, it's gonna be such a hassle trying to find a respectable, great grade school in this
Mm-hmm.
community. They're losing, like, a B school, and I'm like, for what? What is it? I mean, so many people love this school. They love the administrators. The principal is amazing. The
Mm-hmm.
vice principal, like, I know them all by name. They know my son. They know who we are as a family. So, we're so incredulous and blessed to have them. But to think that next year it could all have to change, where I wasn't, like, the best person, like, first going in and trying to find, like, a school for him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be challenged. I'm going to be challenged to have to
Yeah.
do this all over again and to support him.
Hmm. Yeah, the school closures is bad enough, but also letting go the number of employees they're talking about letting go when
Yes.
there are already 200 of those positions of the what 700 200 of those positions aren't even filled. They're positions that are vacant right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So that means they're just going to eliminate 200 that aren't even there, and leaving them with 500, and they're already short teachers. They're going to close
Right.
these.
Right.
They're going to close these public schools, and essentially, those charter schools are nothing more than a private school that gets federal funding.
Yeah. Such an issue as we continue.
It,
I'm sorry, Tracy.
yeah,
Yeah. Let me. I was just
that's all
trying to
right.
get the hearing back, but I'm good.
We're all good. So let me ask you one final question before we go. Uh, the Can you tell us about what you've got? We already talked about your traveling exhibits and such. Tell me what kind of irons you got in the fire now? What's some of your upcoming programs, upcoming exhibits?
Ooh.
What you got going on?
I love that. What do you have going on? Well, this May 25th, that's a Saturday from
Mm-hmm.
5 to 9, is when we'll open up our latest exhibition and in supporting our artists in residence, who is Sarah Crooks. This, like I said before, this is our fourth year that we've been open as a residency, and we try to show four artists a year. And our year kind of runs weird. It runs from May to April of the next year. But we're starting off with Sarah Crooks, as she has her installation, The Long Wait Home. And I invite everybody to come out. It's going to be amazing. She's not just talking about homelessness, like in the way that we think of homelessness, but like what do we have to do? Like with losing Earth as our home, how are we, lending to the
Mm-hmm.
landscapes, and how are we talking back to, animals that are so important and the ecosystems and things that if we lose them, then we won't have a home here on Earth. So, I
That's
really
right.
love her perspective, and we really want to have conversations about this topic and to include everybody. So everybody is welcome.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Yes.
Have you got any closing thoughts for us before we go?
Do I got any what to ask me again, Tracy? I'm
Some
sorry.
Have you got any closing thoughts for us before we go?
Oh, some thoughts. Well, I have lots of those. But, I just think, we as people have to be more open minded to our communities and lend an ear to really give more engagement and more individualism, not just on these hard topics, but on some of these soft ones as well. Because even while they're like destroying, like basically our educational system, they're still always trying to take art out of schools. That's never like never ending. It's
Yeah,
always on the chopping block. So we have to be continuous and keep leading things together.
I totally agree. Shawana, it has been a pleasure having you on the program. It was good to see you again. Uh,
Right. It's good to see you again. It's been my pleasure too.
we will chat soon, and I'm going to do my best to get up there and see the new exhibit.
Yes, please come. The artist talk starts at 7:30, so a lot of times people try to like wait till around that time because then we talk to the artist and they describe their process and it gives you such great information. So then you get a chance to go back in the exhibition and see things like you haven't seen them before.
Great, great. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you again, Tracy. Bye bye.
Well, that's a wrap. Another fantastic episode of the podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms, wherever you surf Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, wherever. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, comment, and smash that subscribe button. If you're streaming audio for the podcast, you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast programs. In the meantime, I like to tell everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, peace.